This is a follow-up video to the one I just posted. I wanted to keep this one much shorter. Very well may repeat some stuff that I said in the previous video, but I wanted to concentrate more on some of the points of the gun itself and things I have done and still would like to do with the gun. Super excited about it. It is just, I can't emphasize enough how fun it is to shoot this gun. Super satisfying as far as getting a high number of shots, getting a high number of high velocity shots. But with all of that said, let me get to the points I want to get to. Number one, the sear spring adjuster that comes with this particular Crosman Custom Shop gun just is awesome. You can have it adjusted for a very heavy trigger pull as it was set from the factory if that's what you like. You can back it off extremely easily. Very light pressure on the spring. Have it set up for a very light trigger pull, which is what I like. Regardless of how you have it set up, either for a very heavy trigger pull or a very light trigger pull, there is no issues with the engagement of the hammer with the sear itself. No modification was necessary, even though it was pointed out on the eBay site for this particular HPA kit that you may have to modify your sear. That was not needed at all. Very happy about that. One of the things, putting all those shots that I mentioned in the previous video over the Crony, getting all those shots, getting all those high-powered shots, one of the things I noticed, the power adjuster does exactly what it's supposed to do. It is one of the highest functioning power adjusters I have on any of my guns. With it completely backed out versus having it completely turned in, the difference in velocity is 100 feet per second. I get 100 feet per second gain having it screwed in all the way and having the pre-tension on the hammer spring. It really does exactly what it's supposed to do. You want to get more shots, conserve on the air that the hammer is forcing out of the valve. You can do that by backing out the power adjuster. You want to gain 100 feet per second, you screw it in. There is a suggestion on the eBay site for this particular kit as far as letting you know you're going to have a choice of 3 different hammer springs, which is what comes with the kit. Basically a light, a medium, and a heavy hammer spring. And they highly suggest you use the medium, that you may have issues cocking the gun with the heavy hammer spring. I don't have any issues whatsoever. As a matter of fact, what I very well may try in the future is an even heavier hammer spring. I think there is more power to be gotten out of this kit. It is not difficult whatsoever with the heaviest hammer spring to cock the gun. That leads me to believe I could go to an even stiffer spring and get more force from the hammer striking the valve stem and getting more power out of the gun. Completely satisfied with how it is now. That's something I just want to keep in mind, may want to play around with in the future. The dot sight, very cheap pickup find off of eBay. Love the looks of it. It's got a very tactical look to it. Was very easy to sight in. Money very well spent, in my opinion, on this particular dot sight. Big shout out again to one of my subscribers, again back in the day. If you reference past video, I put it out there that I was looking for different ways to support the barrel on top of the bottle. I used a 3M double-sided tape in between the barrel and the bottle. Two pieces I had to stack up to get the proper spacing, and then used the hook and loop fasteners, which, you know, the cable ties I picked up at Harbor Freight, seems to have worked out very well. The excitement I have about the plan I had of having basically two guns in one, something easily interchangeable. Now, I did have to go out and buy another 18-inch barrel, Crossman barrel, buy another bolt and bolt handle assembly. But after picking up those two things, I have an easy switch back to the CO2. It literally is just the two screws that hold the grip frame onto the gun. Remove the two screws from this particular setup, take the grip frame, put it on here, reattach it with the two screws that are a part of this, and I've got a CO2 setup. Easily can go back and forth from the CO2 to the HPA kit. That's what I was hoping for, and that's how it worked out. Really glad about that. I did, before I go into some other points I wanted to get into, I did want to give a quick little summary on the kit itself. I actually would recommend it. If you are looking to switch a CO2 Crossman gun over to a HPA setup, this really is an extremely dependable, cost-effective way to go, as long as you know what you're getting. Again, the eBay site itself that it's sold on is not super clear, knowing that you're going to need a breech, knowing you do not need an air tube purchased separately from the same seller. You can pick up something much cheaper than what they're offering. This bottle was approximately, I want to say, 30 bucks off of eBay from another seller. So you stay away from getting the air tube. Just get the kit. The base kit comes in at $99. The breech itself, I can't remember exactly now. That's one of the things, as of today, if you go on the site for this exact kit, it's the exact same situation from when I bought the kit, as far as there's a drop-down menu where you're supposed to have a choice between ordering the kit with a breech or without a breech, and it doesn't give you that choice. The only thing you can order this kit currently as is a kit without a breech. He must be out of breeches, is what I'm assuming. And that must have been the case when I ordered it. Of course, I assumed that my Crossman steel breech would work with this, and knowing that the valve tube is a much larger diameter than the Crossman valve tube by about 100 thousandths in diameter, you are going to need a breech. When that breech becomes available, I want to say it's going to cost you another $35 on top of the $99 that the base kit sells for. So you're at about $135, another $30 for a bottle, $165. Now this can easily be used on a base 2240 gun. So you go out and you pick up that gun for 60 bucks. You're talking about 160, 60 for 220. You can get yourself a pretty well high-powered PCP pistol / carbine if you want to get a shoulder stock. The kit itself, I would recommend. Long story short, You're going to get the breech. You're going to have to do work to the breech. Be prepared. It's not made for the different diameters that extend piece by piece by piece in the kit. The Z elbow versus the valve tube versus the gauge tube. They're three different diameters, very slightly, but enough that it's not going to make the breech sit level. So you're going to have to do work. You can reference one of my earlier videos about what I did to make this breech sit nice and level. With that said, all the other aspects about the breech, it's very well manufactured. I will say that. So, with my summary of the kit, I want to get into a few other points very quickly. I may end up modifying the cheek rest on the shoulder stock because the sight is a Picatinny mounted sight. I had to get an adapter to fit on the dovetail groove of the breech. Like the Crossman steel breech, the HPA kit seller sells the breech with the dovetail groove. I had to get an adapter to switch that to Picatinny. All of that stacked up makes the sight sit pretty high up relative to the shoulder stock. And when I'm shooting it, can't really, to position my eye correctly, my cheek is off of the top rail of the shoulder stock. So I may end up trying to come up with something to raise this top portion of the shoulder stock up higher so I can actually use it as a cheek rest. One of the things I have on order is, and I highly recommend these, got one here on my 2289. It is a stock stash. These are sold on eBay from a gentleman that manufactures these in Burbank, Illinois. Local guy as far as relative to me and my location. Really handy. Custom fit to the opening in the shoulder stock. Got enough storage area here for CO2 cartridges if you have a CO2 gun. Plenty of pellets. Some Allen wrenches, some tools, some Pell gun oil. All of that fits nicely in here. I have one on order in gray for this setup. Going from, as I mentioned in the previous video, 15 MPa down to about 8 MPa. That's over 1,000 PSI worth of air that's being used out of the bottle. That gets you a ton of shots. A lot more convenient setup than using CO2. Investing money into CO2 capsules, investing the time it takes to switch them out, knowing that CO2 is extremely temperature sensitive. You want to maximize your velocity. You've got to wait in between shots. This setup, you don't have to do any of that with. You get a ton of shots. You get high velocity shots. There's no waiting. It's pulling back the bolt, loading up another pellet, refiring as much as you can, over and over and over again. It's great. Great for target shooting. Definitely want to put it to good use as far as hunting goes and as far as follow-up shots goes. With that said, another thing I would really like to try is a grav mag. First State Air Gunner did a really good video on the grav mag. It is a multi-shot attachment for Crossman guns. You can get it in a 5-pellet mag or a 9-pellet mag. One of the things that it does point out on the website for the Grav Mag. They are sold on eBay, but it says it is for a stock bolt probe, and it will not work with an extended bolt probe, which I have in this setup. I really want to see, with some of my machining experience, if I were to pick one up, if I can make it work with the extended bolt probe. It would just be awesome as far as pulling the bolt back, going forward, shooting, pull the bolt back, shoot, having to worry about loading, hand loading the next pellet. It would just be the perfect setup if I can get a Grav Mag to work with this HPA setup. Again, 760 feet per second is a capable velocity from this gun, with a 14.3 Crossman Premier hollow point pellet that gets you 18.35 foot-pounds of energy, tons of energy. Good small game hunting gun. In the future, some of the things I'd like to find out when I do have the gun apart again. As I've already mentioned, a stiffer hammer spring is something I would really like to try out on this setup to see if I can get more power out of it. The other thing that I picked up off of eBay is a Conical Spring. I want to see if it is a lighter spring. It should be able to be used in the valve, and as far as the one that I picked up compared to the stock valve spring, if it is lighter, that should give me more power as well. A heavier hammer spring, a lighter valve spring, and I'm wondering what kind of velocity I can get with those two modifications made. I will have to do that in the future, at which point I will also make an adjustment to the valve adjustment screw and make sure that I can fill the bottle up to the pressure that the bottle is capable of holding, which is 3,500 psi, and yet stay within a safe range for the pressure inside the valve. Whenever it is I am looking into checking out the valve spring that I have versus the stock valve spring, of course that would be a perfect time to make an adjustment to the valve spring pressure screw, adjustment screw. Another great feature that got added to the gun, big shout out to TKO. This TKO moderator, I don't have any other guns with suppressor / moderator on it. I cannot believe how quiet this gun is compared to, say, my 2289. It really does an awesome job quieting down the gun. It's very well made. The carbon fiber look of it goes perfectly with the carbon fiber shoulder stock. It's not the cheapest thing in the world, but it is well worth the money in my opinion. That pretty much sums up everything I wanted to go over. Really enjoy this gun. Gave you my opinions on everything. Went over things I would like to do in the future with this particular gun. Thanks for coming along, checking all this out with me. I appreciate you guys. I can't put into words how much I appreciate you guys coming to the channel, checking it out, seeing what I'm doing. But I am super excited. I just love the fact that I have a Crossman pumper, my 2289, capable of shooting 700 feet per second. I have this gun capable of shooting well over 700 feet per second. I've got a couple of, in my opinion, perfect squirrel guns. Gotta get out this squirrel season with my son and do some squirrel hunting. So, with all of that said, thank you for coming by, checking out these videos. You guys shoot safe, stay safe, and take care.